This is a Cessna 340A. It's a big-ass airplane, me for scale. Thank you, Dynon, for sponsoring this video. This one is owned by a subscriber and friend who not only owns this baller airplane, he also developed a neat app called Fly to Places. The 340 is big for sure. Not Cessna 421 big, but big. 340 is closer to being a big 310 than a small 421. That said, it's still one of the big pressurized twin Cessnas. And it is comfy. It has the air stair door and club seating. I may look a little squeezed in here, but I am on the big side. I would still consider it plenty comfortable for a person my size. People under 6 feet and 200 pounds will be laughing. Squirming up to the cockpit is tricky, but I think you'll get better at it with time. My head easily banged on the ceiling, however the seat could be lowered a little, but I didn't bother messing with that. The shoulder room is stuff of legend. Sitting in the 340 is very 1970s Cessna. There are 4 baggage areas, 2 wing lockers, the rear of the cabin, and then one up in the nose. And the wing lockers may be a little smaller depending on whether or not you have the locker fuel tanks installed. This plane has 1 wing locker tank. If you go for both lockers, you'll get 200 gallons across 6 tanks. Those without wing locker tanks get 160 gallons. A ladder is required to fill the tanks. Even if you're tall enough to reach the tip tanks, you'll unlikely be able to see inside and know when to shut the pump off. Moving the plane on the ground can't be done without some motorized help. It is just too heavy to be done by hand. There's a lot of check boxes on the walk around to check, including 9 fuel sumps. 10 if you have both wing lockers. A proficient pilot can get it done in about 30 minutes, 45 if someone's following you around with a camera asking questions. With both big engines running, it's surprisingly quiet inside. Even at full power, I didn't realize my noise-canceling headset wasn't turned on for nearly half an hour into the flight. Conversation in the cabin is easily done without a headset at all. You have to taxi with your eyes open. The spinning propellers are just 7 inches off the ground and stick far out to the side. Taxiway lights beware. U-turning to backtrack a runway is tricky also, as turns are wide and there's no reverse. Flying a plane like this goes something like this. You push all the balls all the way forward and away she goes. It's standard to get the autopilot on straight away. From there, you take over managing the very large and sensitive turbocharged engines, the complex fuel system, and working the autopilot and radio. The experience itself is somewhere between a nice casual flight in a nimble airplane and doing your taxes. There are a lot of buttons and dials to keep you busy. The yoke and rudder pedals are not among them. Once you're 1,000 feet above the ground, you pretty much become the plane's receptionist. Running turbocharged engines makes for a predictable cruise performance, since engine air is basically a constant. Higher is faster, of course. The 340 likes cruising in the low 20s best. Descending and slowing down requires some planning. Reducing manifold pressure can be done just 1 inch per minute to allow for a nice and gradual cooling. This plane has aftermarket speed brakes, which have no airspeed restriction. Very handy. You can start dropping flaps at 160 knots indicated. Not bad. Thanks to pressurization, descending like a sack of bricks is no problem at all. Actually, hand flying the 340 is probably nicer than you'd expect from such a hulk. Controls are still heavy. The 340 is without question an autopilot cross-country sort of airplane. It does that very well. Someone once told me not to let your family ride inside a big pressurized twin Cessna unless you're prepared to buy one. I could definitely see how, from a passenger's perspective, it'll be hard to go back to wearing headphones, climbing up over the wing, and other things that us peasant pilots have to contend with. 340 is definitely a next level sort of airplane in the cross-country people moving category. A 340 is going to go just for fun flying very seldom, and if you're flying primarily by yourself or with one other person, there are much more efficient ways to do so. Though for moving people cross-country, it's top tier. There may not be a lot of stick and rudder action flying the 340, but there is a true sense of accomplishment in coercing a big bird like this across the continent and popping out of the clouds lined up with the runway at your fun destination with 4 or 5 of your closest friends. It definitely gives that captain sort of feeling. That's owning Cessna 340. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Dynon for sponsoring this video. See you in the next.